Good afternoon. Thank you, Dasra, and congratulations for quarter century. It's an incredible journey and incredibly inspiring for many of us who came later into the space. I set up the Council on Energy, Environment, and Water in 2010, so we've just become a little older than a teenager, 14 years, but Dasra, you're well into adulthood, so thank you for leading the charge. Right, so we are going to talk about climate solutions, locally led climate solutions. So what is it that I can trigger your minds with? Exactly about 2 months ago, I was here in New York, and I was in a similar lunchtime discussion with the ambassadors, the permanent representatives of the UN for some of the most climate vulnerable countries, some from the Caribbean, some others. And the ambassador of one of those countries said something very profound. So she said, we are all different and we need each other. And she said, from the climate perspective, we've not internalized this notion of solidarity. That while our economic circumstances, development circumstances, social circumstances, climate vulnerability might vary, and as a result of it, our responsibilities might vary. What we've not really internalized is solidarity. Now, one of the things about getting to solidarity is, even from a perspective of India, we have not entirely internalized that the nature of our economic development trajectory is also highly varied across the country, but what that means for climate also varies very much. So let's take something like the energy transition. In a city like New York, you'll use that phrase in the singular, the energy transition. In a place like India or Indonesia or Malaysia or Vietnam or Cambodia or Laos or Kenya or Malawi, there are multiple energy transitions. The first is to get energy at all, modern energy, into the home. And that is something where India has made some significant leaps, of course with kinks. In 2015, when we did the world's largest survey on energy access with millions of data points, we were able to get down to the household level of whether a wire is coming in, but also the current at which, the voltage at which the current was flowing, how many hours of blackouts, etc. Based on data like that, there was rolled out two major programs. One called the Ujjwala scheme for a massive increase in cooking energy access, nearly 100 million women getting access to LPG cylinders, and about 130 million Indians getting access to an electricity wire. That's basically 10,000 human beings getting access to electricity every hour for 1.5 years. The world needs to electrify 13,000 human beings every hour till 2030. So that's the scale of what's happened. But there are other energy transitions. The shift from rural to urban India. Urban India is the world's third largest country by population, and to which we will add maybe 500 million more people. And the kind of energy they need, particularly for mobility, for cooling in a hot country, that's going to be another dimension. The third is, of course, from dirty to clean energy. In 2010, we had less than 20 megawatts of solar. We now have over 200,000 megawatts of non-fossil electricity capacity. But we've got to get to 500,000 megawatts by the end of this decade. So what am I trying to say? That this approach, while it has been dramatic, is still not enough. And it's not enough for two reasons. The reasons are we've not internalized that we have to get comfortable with two paradigmatic shifts. The first is to shift away from centralized systems to decentralized systems. And that's where the role of local solutions comes in. Our mindsets are structured as someone is going to generate the energy, someone's going to supply the water, someone's going to distribute it, and someone's going to use it at the end of the line. And we've got to completely reimagine the system, which is much more distributed, much more decentralized, much more close to the communities. And the second paradigmatic shift is that we have to move from linear thinking to nonlinear thinking. The past is no longer a predictor of the future. 3/4 of India's districts are already hotspots for extreme climate events. And just like the AI conversation we just heard, this is the low bar. it's only going to get worse. In this case, we were saying AI is going to get better. It's only going to get worse. But the non-linearity is also about it. We are not just going to go from agriculture to manufacturing to services. All of that will happen together. We will have to move from getting stuck in a middle-income trap to something further. So this non-linearity is something that only works when we get closer to communities. So let's move away from centralized systems. Let's move away from linear thinking, and then we can truly accelerate the already ambitious energy transition and climate action we've got going in India. Thank you.
No Cost Extension will be back next time with a brand new episode. For more information on any of the work that Dasra does or any of the guests featured on the show, please go to dasra.org.